Welcome, friends. We have a really cool guest today. He is a UK wedding photographer, but what you may know him, and he's won tons of awards. He's like at the top of the field in the UK. But what is super cool about what this person did is that they created a worldwide community that if you are a lover of documentary photography, you have probably heard of this. He is the founder of This is Reportage and This is Reportage Family. And he is so dedicated to this form of photography that he started those two communities, and they have absolutely blossomed and given all of us wonderful things to aspire to and to be inspired by, and a place to share our work. So I'm super stoked to talk with Alan today. I also want to take note of the excellent pun skills that he has, because being his name is Alan Law, you can guess what his mentorship and workshops are called. If you guess law school, you are correct. So, big round of applause to bring in the wonderful Alan Law. Here he is. Here we are. Welcome to the show, everybody. I have Alan Law with me, and we just like launched into a little conversation about our dogs. And Alan, you called your dogs natural hoovers.
Aren't they? Because they are, they eat everything. So it's great to have around the kitchen after you've had your meal and they just lap everything up. It's great.
And isn't it funny when you go to someone's house who doesn't have a dog and you drop something on the floor and there's no like scurry to pick it up? It just lands on the floor.
That is true. I never thought about that. Yeah, that is true. That is true. Yeah, one of the best things about having dogs. Though mine's old now. She's 16, my dog. So
Oh, wow.
no.
What's her name?
She's called Daffy. Daffy.
Daffy. How's she
Yeah.
doing? 16.
I know, really lucky actually. Touch wood. My wife bought me a wooden iPhone case because I always touch wood, so I've got wooden all the time. But she's doing really well, thanks. Yeah, yeah, good. She has a few more accidents around the house, but not many, and she's good. Yeah, she's good. How old are yours?
Harlan just turned 12.
Okay, it's a good age as
And
well.
Linda, we think is maybe like 9.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, and
She's a
they
bit of
doing
a
well?
mystery.
That's funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
as is a collie cross, and we don't know what she's crossed with. Her owners, when we bought her, they said they just saw the mom outside with another black dog, and we don't know what it
Oh.
was.
Just someone stopping by.
Yeah, yeah, just a little home visit and then off into the night. But yeah, she's awesome. She's cool. Don't know what's gonna happen. This is my first dog, so it's sad to think about. She's 16 and how old do dogs generally live for anyway? I really don't even know.
I think, well, definitely depends on the breed, but I think like the bigger breeds are younger, like 10 to 12 years. And then the smaller breeds tend to last a little bit longer. But I think nowadays, when dogs are so well cared for and their diets are great, and they don't have to spend nights out in like the -30 weather, they tend to
Mhm.
live. There's a lot more stories of dogs living to like 14, 15, 16.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. I know she's at the top of that range that you just said. She's 16. So.
18, 19, 20. Well, Harlan is going to live till he's 30 at least.
Oh, okay.
So I think she's got another 16 years in her, Alan.
Okay. Oh, well, that's good. I'm sure. That's good. Good, 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 good,
What made you
good.
get a dog?
Why did we? I think it was like that bit of a cliche of like practicing to get having kids, to be honest. It
Yeah.
was a long
Yeah.
time ago. We just got married and it seemed like just a nice thing to do. My wife's always had dogs when she was growing up as well.
Yeah.
I'd had cats and
Mhm.
I acquiesced and went for the dog and never looked back actually. I'm definitely a dog person now, even though I've had cats. What about you? Why did you get dogs?
We like grew up on a farm,
Oh,
always
are we
had dogs, but they
frozen?
were farm dogs, right? Like they were always
Ooh.
outside. Yeah, so we had always had farm dogs, and I grew up in like northern Canada where it was easily 40, 50 below through the winter. And I just remember our dogs just we always often had two, so they would just cuddle together and like in their little doghouse. So when I became an adult and realized that dogs didn't have to stay outside, like it's just a different life on a farm, right? Like they fend for themselves a bit more. When we first got our dog, I was like, he's staying outside because that was what I thought. And then my husband was just reflecting the other night. He's like, "Hey, remember when we got Harlan and you were like, he's going to have a dog house outside and he's not allowed on the couch and there's no way he's going to be in the bed." And now he like sleeps with me every night and
Is he really,
like,
really?
cuddles me on the couch. Like,
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, yeah. I'm a huge animal lover. Yeah, I'm doing an experiment with the algorithm right now about what animals they're going, the Instagram algorithm is going to try to lure me into bringing into my home. And right now it's very stuck on wombats.
And wombats, really? Why do you keep seeing pictures of wombats?
I don't know. And it's kind of been really fun, actually. I just did a podcast on this about like making, because so many people have like Instagram often feels like such a drudgery, right? Like
Yeah,
it's this thing that we're kind of tied into doing and it takes up so much of our life. And which which are true. Like we're kind of tied to it. We have to use it.
yeah,
But it is free and it can be fun. And so I've been being an animal lover, I will like very specifically posts. And then I started realizing that like the algorithm will like throw out like I was into donkeys for a while and then it threw out like an owl. And I'm like, okay, I like an owl. And then within a couple of days, like you're seeing owl every like second or third post. And
wow.
then I liked a wombat. And now it's really fascinating to see how it's adjusting to what I'm liking. And I'm seeing virtually nothing else. Like you would never know that I have followed thousands of photographers because all I'm getting are like gentle cow farm and like wombat sanctuary. And but it
That
has
is.
made it fun for sure.
Oh, that's cool. It's good you're seeing the fun side of Instagram because yeah, a lot of photographers definitely do not, isn't it? It's a
No.
funny thing. Have you got any other animals other than dogs then? Have you got like a
No, we've just got the two because Linda is quite insistent that we allow no other living things within a 10-foot radius of Harlan.
are really protective? Yeah.
She's very protective. Like when we first got her, she was super great because she was more social. Like Harlan is a little bit weird. Like he's like, oh, I don't really want to be around dogs. He's not like, yeah, he's just would rather not, you know.
Mm.
And then Linda was like leader of the cheer team coming in and like welcoming everybody and like having a party. And then she just decided she had to get real serious about it. And she really requires other animals to conform to her desires around space with Harlan. Like she's very vocal about it. And
Yeah.
we have to keep
That's
her on a
cute though.
leash. So
Oh, okay. Well, that is
yeah.
cute though, that kind of protectiveness. That is cute. Cute.
Yeah. It was her name's Linda because do you know the movie The Exorcist?
Oh, yeah, it's one of the first DVDs I ever bought, actually.
Oh, no
Yeah.
way. Okay.
Yeah.
You know the actress is Linda Blair, right?
All right. Okay. Yes. Right. Yeah. No
So
worries.
that's why
You
she's in
named your
like
dog after the Exorcist child.
if you saw her react to people or dogs coming close to Harlan, you would entirely understand why we named her Linda Blair.
Her head doesn't spin round though.
Her head doesn't spin around, but she tries. There's a lot of it's very dramatic. It's
That's
highly
funny.
dramatic, and we're very used to it. But if you aren't, it's surprising. It's shocking in the same way that one would feel if they walked into the room with The Exorcist in it.
Wow, that's funny. Man, I haven't seen that film in a long time though, actually.
Yeah,
It
are
is
you a horror movie fan?
not massive, but I think that was yeah, that did have a bit of an effect on me at the time. And as I say, one of the first DVDs that I bought when DVDs were about £20, I don't know
Yeah,
how much that is in your currency,
it's like
but it's
30 bucks,
is it really? Yeah.
$30.
It's
Yeah,
mad, isn't it, to think they were that price. Shows
yeah,
my age as well, that does though, as well, when DVDs were new things. They don't even exist anymore, do they? They don't create DVDs
yeah. Well,
anymore.
they exist in my living room. My husband is
Yeah.
a cinephile, and
Oh, is he? Oh, cool.
we have lots of DVDs. Much to
Yeah.
my chagrin, I have tried many like strategies to try and like move them into a different cabinet, but there they are.
Well, they're a good thing to have. Are they alpha beta size? How do you say that word? Alpha, you know what I mean? Are
Oh,
they
alphabetized.
alphabetized? Yes, noted. Yeah. Are they?
Are they alphabetized? I try not to look at them, but they probably are. He's very organized.
Oh, that's
With
good.
his records and DVDs, not necessarily with other things though. That's another whole nother topic, Alan.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's funny. Are you a horror movie buff then?
I have grown to quite appreciate the genre.
Yeah. Good, good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like slasher flicks,
No.
but I oftentimes horrors are like metaphor for what's actually happening in our society. And
Okay.
if you look at them metaphorically, you're like, oh, this is actually quite chilling beyond like the startle factor or whatever it is.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I've definitely grown to really. I love thrillers for sure. Thrillers more so maybe than horrors if there's a line between those two.
Okay.
Um,
Cool.
what
Cool.
about you?
Um, my favorite genre it just has to be romantic comedy. It really is.
Oh,
Which
really?
yeah, I do. I really love romantic comedy. Yeah, definitely.
What do you love about it?
Oh man, yeah, that's a good question. What I've never asked myself that. I don't know. It's like there's a bit of romance running through me.
Uh-huh.
I think that's sort of partly got me into weddings. To be honest, I'm
Yeah,
not.
that was going to be my question. Is that what led you
Yeah,
to
yeah.
photography?
I
Yeah.
think it is. I don't know. I love. It's not just the happy endings because I will like. I guess they're not romantic comedies if the ending is not happy. I know that's true, but I
Uh-huh.
appreciate something like Lost in Translation as well, which is not
Oh,
romantic.
so good.
But that's beautiful, isn't it? That is beautiful. I
Oh,
love that.
absolutely. Yeah, it just swept
Mm.
me away. I really loved it.
Went to the cinema to see that. About half an hour through, about 20 people got up and left the cinema.
What?
Well, I know. It's crazy, isn't it? I
See
don't
you
know what they were.
later.
I know, yeah. So
Can I
bizarre.
have your popcorn if you're
Yeah.
leaving?
I should have asked that. That's true. Yeah. It was just weird to see anybody get up, but loads of people got up and left. Yeah, really
Maybe
strange.
they had to pee.
What, like 20 people en masse? Like they didn't come back. So it was a very long way if that was the case. But
Yeah.
yeah. Have you seen that In a League of Their Own when Tom Hanks has that really
I
long?
did. Yeah, like that was in the 90s, right? Like early
Yeah.
90s.
And he comes in and does that wee for about 20 minutes. And you just made me think of that when he's saying maybe they went to the toilet. But yeah, that's a kind of no, I guess it's not really romance in that, is it? No,
Yeah, it's
it's
more of
more,
like an inspiration,
mm,
empowerment kind of movie. Yeah.
yes. Isn't Madonna's in that, isn't she?
Madonna is in it and Gina Davis,
Yeah.
and there's a couple
Yeah.
of really big names in there. Tom Hanks, obviously.
Yeah. Good film.
Um, do you look at movies like it sounds like you enjoy movies. Do they like inform how you frame images and
I, I
like
know
how you look at a scene?
I know that's a good question, and so many photographers say they do. They love. I appreciate good cinematography,
Mhm.
but I have to say, to be honest, when I watch films, I'm like switched off, out of photography mode, just
Yeah.
escapism for me. But I
Yeah.
do totally understand how a lot of people get inspired by it. Well, how about you? Do you? I don't. It's
Um,
the escapism for me. It really is.
yeah, I would say the thing I appreciate most about movies is the cinematography. Like when there is good cinematography, it's so satisfying, right? Like just being swept away in that the it almost feels like you're on their gimbal. Like if it's really good. Like there's kind
Yeah.
of like a physical feeling for me. But in terms of whether or not, no, I would say no, not movies, but definitely uh like photo books. I have a huge
Okay.
photo book collection, and
Mhm.
those and like photojournalism and like iconic documentary photography are definitely where I feel grounded and like yeah, I say inspired lightly because I think some people like actually look at stuff and then try to bring it into their work like consciously. I don't know, do you like look at stuff and then, or is it
No.
just kind of like an underground like uplifting sort of feeling when you look at
I don't actually, again, I don't really have virtually any photo books as well, which is, I know is so
really,
bad. I'm a photographer, but I just don't. I've got like one that was a gift, really. Alex Webb,
you're
Suffering of
like
Light.
what's this?
I know, yeah. Pictures in a book. But no, see, again, I don't. It's so strange that way, isn't it? I am a bit different. Instead, I love what you're not supposed to say as a photographer as well. I love reality TV. I love it. And again, though, I think that. Again, it's to do with my love of, it's for documentary, especially in wedding
Yeah.
photography, it's the documentary side. And reality TV, I find like just so interesting, just real people talking and interacting. And again, I think that is, again, a big part of my wedding photography, really, and why that appeals. It's all about just people and yeah. That's what I
Yeah,
love.
humans are fascinating.
Yeah,
And
we are.
they that we just get to unabashedly watch them and
Yeah,
like make art out of it is what an incredible job we have.
that is true, isn't it? It's so
Yeah.
true. And we can lose sight at that times,
Yeah.
especially like the middle season, and you've got a backlog of weddings and
Yeah.
so many emails and things. And you can go on random Facebook groups and just see people complaining, or
Oh,
threads now. I don't know if you go on threads, but man, it's just people complaining about other people all the time, which
yeah.
now I'm complaining about people complaining, but you know,
It's very meta.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it is,
whoa,
isn't it?
that was a good pun. Alan, I
Yes.
know you
Oh,
like a pun.
that was a good pun. I love puns like that. That was good. Very meta and talking about, yeah, social. That was very good. Very good. But yes, I forgot what I was actually talking about then. But yeah, reality TV. I know you're not supposed to talk about it as a love, but yeah, I love it. I love it. I
Yeah,
do.
you can say it whatever you want here, Alan. It's safe.
That's good. A safe place. It's good. It's good. I don't care what people think anyway. I really don't. It's
Yeah, nor do I. Did you, when you started your career, did you go immediately into, like, would you have called yourself documentary photographer or did you come around to find it?
No, I did go straight into it, to be honest. I really did.
Yeah.
I, I think a big part of it was that I had no experience or skill in like posing people as well. I just didn't want to do that. I didn't know how to do it, and it scared me,
Mhm.
to be totally frank. And it just wasn't why I took a camera to a few friends' weddings, like so many of us do, and got into
Mhm.
it that way. And I was not interested about like, making situations, putting people in kind of window lights and
Yeah.
standing there with the bouquet or something. That just did not interest me at all. So
Mhm.
I went for it straight in documentary, right from the off, and found that I loved it, and that was the approach for me. Yeah. How about
Yeah.
you?
I think had second shot for a friend. I've always been really interested in photography,
Mm,
even from like a little kid. But and so I was working in a job that I really hated, and I kept wanting to like pick up a camera. And so I second shot a wedding of a woman who became a friend. Um, and I just thought I really loved um, all the different scenarios that you're thrown into
yeah.
and like having to figure it out. I really love that. Like, I love being like kind of caught off guard and like having to like figure something out.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good trait to have as a wedding photographer. Wow. So straight off, you enjoyed that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I really like that. I don't like controlling anything.
Mm.
Yeah, I like responding. I'm a responder rather than like I don't like directing. I think that's really boring.
Same here for me, totally. And that was a big reason why I began this reportage as well. Just
Yeah.
that whole love of documentary and wanted to kind of push back a bit at the whole Instagram portrait heavy, which is
Yeah,
just it's fair enough. I know not people who do it, and people love that, and some people love
totally.
photographing like that, and that's all good. But
Yep.
for me, that just isn't what wedding photography is. It's
Yep.
not just two people in a wedding dress and a nice suit standing on a cliff or whatnot.
Hmm.
I'd have to say it's not even much to do with their wedding. They're just
Hmm.
I have to say, sometimes it can feel more like it's about the photographer really in portraits than it is about the couple, really.
Hmm.
So yeah, that does not appeal to me. It really doesn't. And that's one of the reasons why I started Reportage.
Hmm.
Yeah.
How
And
did you come to that decision? Because that's bold. You're like, hey, I'm just going to start a
I am
community.
I am bold. I am very bold. Not as good as your meta one there, though. Yeah, that's true as well. And it comes back to a time actually, with the theme of your podcast as well. I kind of a time in my life where I just realized I just wasn't being so proactive enough, I think. I was this was just before starting wedding photography itself. I was in a job I wasn't happy about, like a lot of people as well. And I felt
Mhm.
like for a lot of my life, I wasn't going out there and pushing myself to do things. So I did have a kind of conscious shift to just go for things, just to really, what is the worst that could happen is that you could fail,
Yep.
but I could get another job if that was the case or whatnot. we do live just once. We have this one shot, in my opinion. I know we all have different beliefs and that kind of thing, but I think we've just got one shot, like Hamilton. Have you ever seen Hamilton, by the way?
I haven't, and it's on the
Uh,
list. I need to
Yeah,
see
I've
it.
not seen it either yet, but I really like that one, that song from it anyway.
Mhm.
So yeah, I just started just really going for things, and like starting my own wedding photography. That was a big deal, and then starting the workshops. You have that fear about if maybe nobody's going to turn up, but you
Yeah.
never know unless you try. And I have a massive respect for anyone who puts themselves out there and does a workshop. You hear
Mhm.
mumblings in that industry when someone new does a workshop and they're like, oh, he's only been in business for 18 months. What do they know?
Right.
Whatnot. But I have massive respect for people who put themselves out there. It's a
Mhm.
it's a big deal.
Mhm.
Yeah, so going for that as well. And then going for reportage. I have this passion for documentary, and
Yeah.
I thought, I know obviously WPJ already existed at the time. I'm not saying that it was a totally new, unique concept because it wasn't, but I
Mhm.
felt like I could do something different and something, well, I don't know, I don't want to say better, but just different, and
Yeah.
it was a punt. There was a lot of money involved as well.
Mhm.
But again, I just had to thought I had to go for it and just to see what happens really.
Mhm.
And luckily it's cool. It's good.
It's wonderful. I love
No,
it. Yeah, it's so
thank
nice
you.
to go to a place where you're like, oh yeah, these are my people,
Oh, that's
you
cool.
know?
And the community side of it is awesome. I love that about it as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
I'm curious, Ellen, like when you say when you just decided to go for it, like how long, and you said something interesting that we sometimes look down at others who are starting a workshop and like what experience do they have? And that is daunting for most people. And that is something that definitely stalls them. Like when I started doing mentoring and coaching and started working on my courses, I was like, what do I
Mm,
know? I don't have 20,000 followers. Like, how could I actually contribute anything to that hasn't already been said?
mm.
So, did that happen for you, or were you like when you started your workshops, law school? Again, love that.
Thank
Um,
you.
did you like how did you wait till you were at a certain point in your wedding photography career, or did you like what made you feel like that was something that you had to do?
Yeah, and that's a good question as well. And I have to say there was a catalyst for that because I'm also a firm believer in making hay whilst the sun shines as well, which
Yeah,
sounds like cold in this world, but I
yeah,
do believe in that. And I had very luckily become at the end of 2014 one of Rangefinder 30 Rising Stars. So
right.
there was my name was a bit more known, within industry then. So I thought. I'd been on workshops before that and enjoyed them, but I also thought that I could add value here and say
Mhm.
some things that I believe in that I'm not hearing at workshops as well.
Yeah.
So it was a combination that I wanted to do it, super scary, but
Mhm.
I just got this rangefinder thing, so I thought the time was right, as any time could be, to give it a go, fully
Mhm.
expecting maybe one or two people to come, if that,
Right.
but luckily, it was good. People came and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. So I've done lots more down the line. And yeah,
Mhm.
do you enjoy it? You must enjoy that kind of mentoring,
I
teaching,
fucking
coaching
love
stuff.
it, Alan. It is the
Yeah.
best. I think the thing
Mm,
that I love most about it is that it helps me to understand myself better, and it
that's
makes it makes me a better photographer as well because I have to be able to describe and explain and interpret like why I'm doing what I'm doing. So it makes me like always be more conscious of the actions that I'm taking and how I'm talking about everything from business mindset to like framing an actual photo.
mm,
um I think
nice.
it's helped me to be even more of an expert than prior to that, and
Yeah.
that's really satisfying. And then also seeing your people, like seeing that kind of blossom or that those lights come on in their eyes, and
Yeah.
when they like get more inspired by what they're doing and kind
Mm,
of shake off a lot of the self-doubt. For me, confidence is such a big thing.
yeah.
I really want to empower my students to feel that the way they see the world is valuable and it's worthy, and it doesn't matter if it doesn't look like someone else's. Like,
Well, that's
you
true.
are
It's even better
inherently.
that it doesn't look like anyone else's, I
Yeah,
think.
exactly. But we're
Yeah.
so caught up in like, I have to make it look like this, if like we undervalue ourselves. And I really think that that is an undervaluing, like when we try to make our work look like someone else's, is like we're undervaluing the fact that we have a different perspective. We have a different life
Yeah.
experience that is informing what we're interested in, right?
That's so true. That's so true. And it's funny you say that as well. I did a talk just last week at a retreat down here in Cornwall. It's run by Nine Dots, who do a big gathering
Yeah.
in London. They're the first one down in Cornwall. And my whole talk was about all the things that we don't have to do as photographers and how we don't have to be like everyone else. And it's just so important. I don't understand the whole trends thing and people following trends. I don't understand why you would want your images to look like anybody else's, especially when it's so competitive now. What's the point of having work that looks like everyone else's? How are you going to get chosen if your work just looks like everyone else? Is it because you're, £100 cheaper than the photographer down the road, or you offer a different gift box or something? It's so important that people just do what they love. And then we're unique because of that. We
Yeah.
create unique imagery because we're shooting and showing what we love. And then people are going to find us that love what we're doing. It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy, really.
I
Mm.
think people feel safe if they're following someone else. I think
Yeah,
it's kind of subconscious, like if I just do it this way, if I do it the way they're doing it, then they were successful. So maybe that means I will be.
mm. Yeah, and I get that. I do understand that, but I do
Mhm.
think it's the wrong way to go, especially.
I firmly agree.
Yeah,
Let
yeah,
it be clear. That is not how we go.
yeah. I guess it is safer to be like everyone else, though. But
Yeah. So
yeah,
is that what you teach in your workshops? It's
oh, it's
like, do
big.
you, yeah.
Yes, a big part of that, a huge part of it is about people. So my workshop is really not like this is how you should do it. This is what works,
Right.
do it this way. It really isn't that at all. The whole focus on it really is about people just doing what they love and just staying true to themselves and not following the crowd. One of the first quotes I say is about how it's better to walk in better to walk alone than with a crowd going in the wrong direction, which I think is a great quote, and I thoroughly believe in that. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Mm.
Yeah, I think all the if you think of all the major shifts in society, they've happened because someone had the audacity to stand up and be like, no, this isn't right.
Yeah.
We're
Totally.
gonna go this way. What about working with reportage? How does that like how involved are you in it? Like, do you look at are you just inundated with all the images and you just look at them all? Like, how does it when people are like, what is it like being behind the scenes for that? I'm always curious.
Yeah, I mean it's fun. So I mean I used to look at every single submission, but I don't look at every single submission anymore. We have like 11, 12,000 images at each round like submitted. So there's a lot, and I don't envy my judges. We're looking through every single one, but I still do look at a lot. I look at a lot because before starting Reportage, I've always loved documentary wedding photography. So I was always looking at it anyway for fun. And
Mm,
now it's super just to be able to, yeah, see what the talent all around the world
it's
is
wild.
absolutely crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy out there. I have to say it was a bit of a personal roller coaster for me with starting Reportage because doing my own photography,
Mhm.
I would obviously be doing my own photography, but then I'd see all these amazing submissions and it would I know a big thing about we teach is that don't compare yourself with others, but sometimes it's hard, isn't it? It's hard,
Yeah,
and
it's stinking hard.
yeah, it is, isn't it? So
Yeah.
it's still a roller coaster for me, it is.
Yeah. How do you
But
manage it?
yeah, that's a good question. How do I manage it? How do I manage it? I think it helps now not looking through every single submission because I honestly I support every single one. Um, I don't know. I don't know if I do manage it to be honest, because I still get ups and downs. I still do. Isn't there that whole Dunning-Kruger thing as well? I'm not trying to sound like intellectual because I'm really not, but just I'm really not. But just reading about that more recently, someone who's been doing a job for longer as well, though, can like devalue their work because things come easier to us because we've been doing it so long. So we
Uh-huh.
feel like maybe there's like less effort involved in it. So we feel in a way that we're not so good. Do you know what I mean? I think that could be
So
having an
less effort in what we're doing, or we're lessening others' effort when we look at it.
No, I think what we're doing, because we've been doing it so long and it comes easier to us, I
Hmm.
think in a way it feels to us like that the work is not so good because it comes easier to us.
Right.
When we're a
Yeah.
bit lesser in our career and things are so much harder to do,
Yeah,
we're a bit more kind of wowed with the stuff that we're producing. But when it
totally.
becomes easier, I think we can feel a bit more negative about our work. Do you know what I mean?
I do. I think maybe even like the law of diminishing returns, kind of like when you're first learning, the curve is so steep and you're making every step you take is like a huge rung on the ladder, right? But then
Mm,
as you like once you get 10, 12, 14 years in the industry, then the the changes are very small, like the
mm,
steps that we're taking because we're kind of on like the flatter part of the curve.
yeah.
Because we've learned all those things. You can look at someone who kind of breaks out of the woodwork and then a year later, like they're even more amazing, and it's only been a year. But I think if we looked at them 10 years from now, they would be just as you're saying, like it's not the the feeling of accomplishment or growth is much smaller because
Mm,
we've been doing it for so long. We've been
yeah,
exposed to so much. um
that
but
is
I
true.
the other thing that I think is kind of wild, how long have you been a photographer?
So since 2012, I began. So like 12 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you find this is dating us, we're in and around the same time.
Okay.
um do you sometimes get like a little bit like, oh shucks, like looking at all the technology that's available, like not only in terms of cameras but more so in terms of like running a business?
Oh yeah, I think so. I'm a bit of a Luddite that way. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Do you? Do you?
Yeah. Like if I had um like Flowdesk or like all of or Honeybooks or anything or PickTime, like I remember like I would have to upload not only the full resolution files but then make a separate gallery of like the web sized
Web.
files,
Okay. Yeah.
that so that people would like you would have two different galleries, and now like the gallery does it for you.
Yeah.
Like even stuff like that, you're like, oh, I've been doing this for so long, and like now finally this thing is happening, but everybody else has like grows into it, like it's already there for them. They don't have to learn that thing.
That's true. Yeah.
You see what I mean?
We
And
are
like
you are dating us here. You are.
totally. Yeah, I think I got my business license in like 2010, 2011,
Okay. Right. Yeah.
somewhere in there.
Older than me as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know totally know what you mean as well. So I'm really quite old school. Like, so I use Excel for my expenses, and I
Yep.
just use Outlook and iCloud to sync up my calendar. That's virtually it. And I know there's so much out there. Like, I've not even tried AI editing. Not even tried.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Have you?
I don't really want to go there. Like I
No.
do. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. I use Aftershoot. And I guess
Okay.
that's, yeah, I didn't, I was thinking more like Photoshop, like removing like
Oh,
the,
right. No, I mean, like, yeah, after shoot, like after
yeah,
shoot. Yeah.
yeah.
How you
I,
find
it,
that? Is that good?
it is wonderful. Like I put in my own settings,
Mm.
and it really does speed stuff up considerably. I still go
Okay.
through all of the images to make sure that's the one that I want. But in terms of like just like adjusting the exposure a little bit and like adjusting the white balance a little bit, it does that, like those things that just take up 5 seconds of your life.
Yeah, because that's what I'm basically doing on each photo, actually. So
Yeah.
maybe it would make sense to give it a go. I just edit so quickly anyway. I just feel like I don't know, but maybe I should give it a go. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, my editing was never very um intense, but it is the act of like opening each image, doing like a little micro adjustment and the highlights, and then like maybe a touch on the white like it just takes,
It does
30
for each
seconds a
one.
photo.
And then
So
yeah, and then when you're delivering a lot as well. So I deliver a lot, generally 900, 1,000 images, and so
really,
just take yeah.
what does a day look like for you? Like how do you move through a documentary
So
day?
I do like set hours, by the way. I don't do unlimited or anything. I just found that
Uh-huh.
works better for me. So I do 10 hours. Sometimes clients will add on a bit more, but like 95% is 10 hours. I just shoot a lot, and I like to deliver a lot. I know that we're told that we should really call hard and
Hmm.
deliver a really tight set.
Hmm.
But I don't agree with that in a way. I feel
Hmm.
like I think I'm delivering a lot, but I'm still delivering a lot of good images, I think. And they're not copies of things, I'm just shooting a lot, delivering a lot, and
Hmm.
it feels better for me to give something. I mean, rather than delete it. And when people talk about impact, it lessens the impact if you have a bigger set. But I think impact is only valid for like the first or two times that the couple look at the gallery, they've got the
Mhm.
rest of their lives to pour over all the images, or
Mm.
until they divorce in like a few years' time, whatnot as well. But so I think impact is something that it's just not really very important. I'd rather give more than give less. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know it's what photographers say don't do, but I
Yeah.
like.
Well, I think that's one of the things that we learned being mentors is that we're giving people ideas, right? And you need to decide whether that works for you or not.
Mm,
And you need
totally.
to decide whether that's part of your client experience or not. So Alan's clients are going to get lots of photos and they're all going to be wonderful and they know
Don't
and
know
like
about that bit, but yeah.
but that's the experience that's really important to you that they have
Mhm.
a wide variety and you feel good delivering a lot.
Yeah.
um and there's definitely opinions that would say like a tight cull so that you're not so that your clients don't have to do the work when they're looking for it. But I think that kind of comes down more to like when folks are delivering 5-10 images of virtually the same pose
Mm.
or the same like moment. I honestly think that that's exhausting for
Yeah.
clients.
Yeah. No, I do. I totally agree with that as well. Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally agree with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And they're not, honestly, they're not copies. They're not copies of the same moment. They're not. I honestly, I shoot a lot on a day. So, like the wedding I just did on Monday, I did 10,000, just over 10,000 frames, which is just me as well. So, it's a lot of things happen. I use it as a selling point, though, as well. I have to say on my Zooms, because it's
Yeah.
obviously very competitive. I say that, I deliver a lot of images. You're going to get like 900 to 1,000. And I do say, maybe I shouldn't say it, but I say I don't understand it when some photographers only deliver like 350 images. I say,
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing the rest of their time because so many little things happen. And I
Yeah.
and obviously I'm using it as a selling point because
Yeah.
I do it's a selling point as well. Yeah.
Did you go through like how did you come to the point where this became a valuable thing to you, like where this is something that you're like, I think that this is a like a decision point for people?
Well, I don't know. I never sat down and thought of it in that way, in that like, this is a plus point for me and my business. It just kind of naturally happened.
Mhm.
I thought as I go through business more and become a better photographer, in quotes there, if it was listening to this and not watching it, I thought that I'd be delivering less, to be honest. I
Yeah.
thought that's the way it should happen. But I found that I deliver more. And
Mhm.
I don't know what the impetus is for that. I don't think it's me getting better. Although switching to Sony's from the Canon, a lot more is in focus now as well. So
Yeah.
that's part of it. Um, I don't know. I think it's a slight pushback. I see a lot of people say that if an image doesn't progress the story, then you should delete it and cut it out there. And I'm like, no, if I've taken, say, a nice non-storytelling shot, say of somebody's child maybe, or a
Mhm.
family shot, that's nothing special. It doesn't tell a big story within a frame,
Mhm.
but they might love that. They might
Mhm.
absolutely love that. A lot of time in life, people never hire a professional photographer, again in quotes, whatever that
Yeah.
means. So if I can supply, these people that I'll never meet again, they're just not just even the couple, I mean all the friends and family at the wedding. If I can give them these images that they may love, it feels good. It
Mhm.
does. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think well, I don't know. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I can definitely see um both not they're not sides, but like both perspectives, right?
Yeah.
Because um part of the way I look at it, I kind of deliver mid-range. I usually deliver like 600 to 800 for a 10-hour day.
That's still a lot though.
Still a lot for sure. And the thing that I'm conscious of is if they share this, do I want my name on this photo?
Okay. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I'm quite specific about what my brand is
Mm, because
because there's so many photographers. Like I have to be very staunch in that this when you look at this photo, I want you to know that Bobby made it,
yeah.
you
That's
know?
cool.
And so then that's where kind of like the middle rungs, I take them out because I'm like, anybody could have made that photo, like there's not like, it's not uh, and of course there would be other ones that are meaningful to them from a familial perspective, but I'm trying to make photos that would be known for and they would like I would want them to share them. Because when I wasn't doing this, when I was just like, they might like it, I don't like it, they might like it. Inevitably, those are the ones that they shared. And I'm like, oh,
Oh yeah, I get that. Yeah, I
you
get
know?
that. Yeah.
And I
I'm
think
still
it's,
only including ones that I like though. I am. I
yeah,
still
nice.
like, yeah. I still like them.
Yeah,
But I think some photographers would say like maybe and it sounds funny maybe coming from me because obviously running this reportage as well. It's all about, storytelling and
yeah,
stories within a single frame as well as the story wars as well. And so people might think it's funny coming from me, but it's just I like that approach and yeah, it
totally.
works for me. Yeah.
Yeah. You're married, right?
I am. Yes.
Did you
Yes.
have a
Long
wedding
time.
photographer?
Did I have? Yes, I did, but I wasn't into it. But I wasn't a photographer back then when I got married. So I got married in like 2006. Like 6 years before I began. So,
Yeah.
and my parents-in-laws were paying for it all. I was very lucky, and so they found a photographer, and we just went along with them. And my wife, does not like the photos really very much because the photographer is very kind of traditional, very big. I am kind of presence, and yeah, and that's a shame back then. It'd be very different if I was getting married now, and.
Yeah.
Like, who would I choose? Like, no, no,
I
that'd be
know.
crazy.
There's so much to choose from.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, we got married in there's some weird light coming in here. 2014.
So you were a photographer
Um,
already.
I was a photographer at that time, like just sort of budding. I was kind of 3 or 4 years in. And it's funny because I am such a slow learner. Like I know that people like have banging careers when they're like 3 years in, and I'm like, what? What? I'm 12 years in or whatever, and I'm just starting to feel like, yeah, I'm an expert. Like I know what I'm doing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, um, so we hired Jeff Newsom.
Oh, did you really? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
Jeff,
Cool.
and Jeff is wonderful. Like, but even now, like I look at the photos are wonderful, but I have changed so much.
Was there a catalyst for you then? Why did you change more towards documentary? Was there some?
Mm, I think I got really tired. I know I got really tired of people expecting me to tell them what to do. And I would be drawn to what they were doing. And then they would stop what they were doing to look at me. So I'm like,
Uh,
I've got to change this. This
yeah.
is not working. Like so I had that like inherent draw to what was naturally happening and no desire to change it.
Mm.
So then I just started searching around for teachers who could help me figure that out. Um,
Who did
yeah.
you who did you find?
Well, I found Fearless
Oh yeah.
photographers, and they're not specifically documentary, but there was much more diversity of um, moments. It was much more quote unquote moment driven than because I was looking at Junebug
Oh yeah.
and like the fine art stuff, and I'm like, it just doesn't like it's pretty, but
Yeah.
it just doesn't hit me. Like
Uh,
it's so easily digested because it's just so beautiful. And like
mm,
when things are beautiful, like it's just one dimension, right? Like
totally.
this is beautiful, and then that's where it kind of falls off.
Yeah.
Whereas
That's
if you
right.
look at documentary photos, there's just such a range of things happening, like not only things happening, but like what you get to feel about it and all the characters that are in the
Totally.
frame and the perspective of the photographer to get them all in there and stuff. It just I find it inherently satisfying. Like it's like a good like chewy like stew or something. There's all sorts of like good stuff in it versus like a beautiful piece of cake.
Oh yeah, totally, 100% agree. And
Yeah.
each to their own, obviously. But I
Yeah.
just the whole pretty thing. People who get all these pretty photos, are they going to regret it like 20 years down the line when it's just shots of a dress in a tree or something, and there's no shots of their like gran like crying while hugging them afterwards, or
Yeah. Yeah.
I just, I know each to their own, definitely, and that's what I love about our job is that we
Yeah.
all
There's
do
such
different
variety.
genres, and
Yeah.
yeah. But I just have to say, I don't understand the whole pretty thing, and that's what's even worse now on Instagram. I think the whole kind of editorial thing. I just don't get. To me, it has no soul, in my opinion. It doesn't like it just doesn't, and it's not what life is about, in my opinion. But each
Yeah.
their own. Right.
Is that something, was there something that was happening in your life that really drew you to understand or to feel that magnetism toward the realness of life?
I don't know about specifically. Not with starting as a photographer, a thing. I think it had been in me from quite an early age. And I have to say, one moment, it sounds a bit funny to talk about, but I was quite young, like 15, 16. And I had ambitions of wanting to be a solicitor, a lawyer.
Mhm.
I've got a good surname for being a lawyer.
You
So
sure do.
yeah.
A
But
self-fulfilling prophecy.
well, it never happened. It never happened. But because and I watched a movie called Regarding Henry. I don't know if you've seen it. Harrison Ford. No, but it changed my kind of whole outlook on life, really. It had a
Oh.
massive effect on me because in it, it's about a hotshot lawyer, Harrison Ford, but he's not a nice person. And then he gets shot in this attempted burglary, and he loses memory, he loses a lot of body function and things, and he has to learn to rehabilitated, and he's kind of learning to be a person again. And he's so much nicer now
Mhm.
that he's just this simple person without just thinking about money and career and things. And honestly, it really hit me. It hit me. I was only like 15, 16, but it just made
Interesting.
me realize how life is not about this treadmill that we are really led to believe, it's not about making all this money. It's not about having the biggest jobs. And
Yeah.
it changed my whole kind of like core, I think, from an early age. And yeah, and I think
You weren't
that's had a
even
big
on
effect.
the you weren't even on the treadmill yet at 15.
No, I guess that's true. Yeah, I guess that's true. Pre-treadmill age. But it did have a big effect on me. I was expected to be like the first in my family to go to university and
Mhm.
to have like a kind of a big career, and it kind of made me kind of push back on that, really, to think that
Yeah.
this is what life isn't about. I
Mhm.
did go to uni, but my life through then has not been about trying to make the most money. We wouldn't be wedding photographers, I think, if we all thought like I don't think many of us are get into it thinking we're going to make millions doing this.
Yeah.
Um, and it never has been. And I've been so much happier, just not having that. I have to say, I think in life, ambition is a word. God, I'm like really sorry. I'm really like
Please do.
ranting
Please
on, but
do.
no,
This
okay.
That's what this is about.
Yeah, okay, it's good. But I think the word ambition is always seen as a good thing. But for me, ambition means that someone is not happy. It means they want more, whatever that is. They're not happy with their lot. So I don't see why someone without ambition is seen as a negative in life. I think that means someone is happy, they're content. Surely that's the purpose of life, is to be content with whatever makes you content.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and it's just been a core thing throughout my life now. And I think that's just led again, like that has affected my outlook on wedding photography, and not seeing
Mhm.
that it's about fancy dresses or fancy venues, or expensive destination weddings. I really have no interest in that at all. That's why I
Mhm.
show hardly any details on my site as well, because it's not about the stuff, the material bit of weddings for me. It is, I know people say it a lot, but it is true. It is all about the people. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I love. Sorry,
Yeah.
that was a rant. That wasn't
No, I
very good.
love it. Thank
Okay.
you. And we're in the same boat, Alan. Like we're
That is
totally
good.
rowing together. I think like um there's well, I mean, we could get into like the capitalist industrial complex and like productivity and all of that stuff, right? Like that's where that you
Mm,
feel lesser than if you're not ambitious, or like we have this kind of social bias that tries to get implanted in us that you have to make something of your life,
mm,
whatever that means. But what is life but the people you share it with, right? And the experiences you have. And that's what is so cool about weddings is that is exactly what that is celebrating the fact that you love someone and people love you. Like that's what there's no other time in our life where that happens. I mean, at your funeral, but you're not there to
No,
to
we
enjoy
won't get
it
to see
with.
the photos of that either afterwards as well. That's
Yeah,
true.
totally.
Yeah.
What do you
That's
think of funeral photography? Sorry, I cut you
yeah, I
off.
thought that's a good segue. I was going to ask you that as well. Again, I've never done it. I've never done it. Have you ever done it? Have you ever
No, I
done it?
would love to. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I think I think it's much more of a thing in like Holland, and because with running this Reportage family as well, and you're a member of as well, we get quite a
Mhm.
few submissions from funeral stuff, and it's beautiful as
Yeah.
well. It is
Yeah.
beautiful. I understand why there could be a social like taboo about it. I understand that, but it
Hmm.
is also beautiful. Yeah, I don't. I get choked up just in speeches at weddings generally,
Yeah.
so I don't know if I'd be the best person to actually to cover a funeral because didn't
Yeah.
you feel like you'd feel like you don't want to be making it worse by you being emotional as a photographer as well? It would feel like, in a way, that that's not right, but I would find it hard not to do. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Would you?
I don't
Yeah.
know. My approach is like, I am one of you,
Mm,
you know? And like, I can't make intimate photos of you, like intimate in terms of like feeling your emotion and like feeling safe in front of me to be able to cry.
yeah.
Um, I can't do that if you don't feel like I'm there with you,
Mm,
you know? And so I think like being at a funeral, being at weddings, I kind of feel like I have to indenture myself to people, like to help them feel like you can open up in front of me. Um, a funeral would be, funerals are so wild because like we're there because we love, and obviously we miss the person,
mm,
but a funeral um is an opportunity to um like really celebrate and acknowledge that person. And but I think our society is so fucked up about emotions and being anything other than happy,
mm,
um that we missed such an opportunity at funerals to like really connect emotionally with all the people who shared this person in their
mm.
lives, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's really sad.
I can't imagine. It is
Which is a
sad.
bit of a pun, Alan. It's very sad.
Well,
Sad
yes.
funerals.
And I can't imagine it being much of a thing in the UK because I mean stereotypically, us English as well, we're kind of
Mhm.
uptight, we I think I I don't think people would be I think they'd find it very strange with a photographer there. They just yeah. Is it more of a thing in Canada? Does it?
No, not that I know of. No, I wish
Yeah.
it was though.
Yeah.
Um, Speaking of which, like you said that English people are a little bit uptight. How do they? It seems to me, like as a North American, it seems to me that documentary goes over a lot better in the UK than it does in North America.
And what do
Would
you mean
you?
it goes over better? Like people are more accepted of it, or
I
it's
think
just
it's more
more
accepted of it. I
prevalent?
think there are more like truly documentary photographers that seem to be from the UK than there are. Like there's maybe, and maybe we can also talk about that because I think lots of people, documentary has become quite the buzzword of late. Do you agree?
Yeah, I guess so. Yes, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
I think there's lots of photographers who are calling themselves documentary who
yes,
they're
yeah.
not, which is part of the reason why I started my storyteller school, my course, because I'm like, hey, this is what I want to be like, lovingly show you, empower you. This is actually what documentary is.
Mm,
Um, but I don't, like I said, I see much more like traditional photographers who are calling themselves documentary in North America. But when I look at what's happening in the UK, it seems to be much more pure documentary work. And or
mm.
maybe the algorithm is just showing me that, you know?
No, I
What
think
do you?
I think it's true. I mean, from my experience, obviously, I've been here in the UK, but also looking at like work from America, for example, it
Mhm.
definitely does seem like over here it is more prevalent. It is more the norm, to be honest. I think it really is. I don't know why that is. I mean, when I began back in 2012, there obviously was still there were documentary photographers before me, years before me as well.
Mhm.
Um, I think we had a bit of a head start of the new guys. We have been doing it for longer, so it's become more accepted. Um, but I don't know. I don't know. When you say these documentary photographers are not documentary, do you mean are they kind of still controlling the scene in a way, or
Yeah, yeah, for
yeah?
sure. Definitely
Mm,
still controlling and like sharing. I'm very staunch about the difference between candid and documentary. And I think that's where people get tripped up is like they'll be shooting portraits and it's kind of like a thing that they didn't directly direct. and they're saying that that's documentary, and I'm like, nope,
Right.
that's just candid, or like it's just an unposed moment in between,
Yeah.
um whereas documentary is, as we've alluded to earlier, like it is story, like it is framing so that you are telling like a cohesive story about the entire event or that entire like frame
Moment.
of time that's happening.
Yeah.
um
Why do you think it's more prevalent in the UK? And I don't know. Are
I don't
we
know.
less into the pretty side? I don't know. I have to say one of the best things for me, and one of the things that's been the most freeing, is that I don't think that wedding photography is about making people look good. So it's never in my head that I need to make people look good. I think they're not booking me to make them look good as well. So I don't have to worry about if there's not so good light while they're having this moment, or if I have to photograph from a different angle that's maybe not the most flattering. That never enters my head that I can't take that image. I'm there to tell the story, as you say, to get those moments. And it's so freeing to have that thought
It
that
really
it's,
is.
yeah, not about making people look good. And maybe that's more of a societal thing I don't know, like in the UK, we're used to not looking so good compared to like Americans and like your lovely lights and yeah, nice weather and stuff. I don't know.
Lovely weather. Yeah, I mean, the weather plays into our personalities, right?
Yeah, that's true. Although we've got sunshine today, actually, which is really rare. We've got sun. But yeah, what's the weather like with you anyway? Was it cold?
um I live in the middle of the mountains in British Columbia.
Nice.
So in the winter it's very dark, and because I'm in a valley, so it gets really like dark and snowy and rainy. But in the summer it's like hot and beautiful.
Wow. That sounds nice to have those two extremes then, actually.
Yeah, I'm the darkness in the winter as I get older is starting to bug me a little bit. Like I
Yeah.
notice come February, I'm like, haven't seen the sun for a few months. You
That
can
sounds
kind
like
of
a British summer. That's a British summer, that is.
that's a British summer.
It is.
But then you guys can just hop over the pond and like go
What,
play in
to
France for a
America?
little bit.
Oh, I thought even the pond is in the Atlantic then, but
Oh yeah, that's right. You guys call the Atlantic the pond.
yeah, the pond. Yeah, no, I guess we could just pop over to. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, do you come into Europe much?
I'll be in Europe. I have a wedding in Sweden this summer.
Oh, cool. I've never shot
Um,
in Sweden. I've never been to Sweden. That'd be cool.
oh, I'm so excited. So I'll be
Where's that?
there, and
Actually, I'm going to
I
say
think
where in Sweden. You'll tell me the place. I have no idea about Sweden geography.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Between Stockholm and Oslo, like it's close to
Ah,
the Norwegian border.
cool. Are you going to
Um,
watch Eurovision on Saturday? Because it's in Sweden, isn't it?
I will have to.
Yeah. Have
Thank
you
you
ever
for
watched
bringing that
Eurovision?
up.
Have you ever watched
Well,
it?
right now the NHL playoffs are on, so
Oh, okay. And that takes place
hockey.
over Eurovision.
Not,
Eurovision's so good.
I would rather watch Eurovision than
Uh,
hockey.
uh,
But my husband is a big fan. Maybe I'll just go
uh,
in my room and watch Eurovision.
yeah. Yeah, because it's yeah, I love Eurovision. So I don't know how we segue to that, but that's awesome to have a wedding in Sweden. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm very
Yeah.
excited. And then I'm coming over for way up north in October.
Cool. I've never been to that actually. Yeah. Have you
Yeah,
been before to that?
I haven't been. That will be my first time. Give it a try. Yeah.
You should come to Dock Day. That's in
I
Ireland every
would
year.
love to come to Doc Day. This was the first year that I heard about it, but it's been for a few years, right?
Yeah, I think this was the fourth one. So yeah, it'll be the fifth one next year. It's
Yeah.
so good, obviously, because it's what we love to do. It's all about the
Yeah.
documentary side as well. It's so
Yeah.
cool.
And that's why I'm saying, like, honestly, all of the documentary uh workshops and conferences and stuff, they're in Europe, like
Yeah.
they're in England. So I am gonna plan to come to Doc Day. It's in
Oh,
April or something, right?
oh, it's
May.
February, I think, next February.
Right.
Yeah.
I have no idea when it is, but I will probably come.
And a good excuse to come to Ireland as well. Have you ever been to Ireland? It's
I have
fun.
not been.
Oh, yeah, it's good fun. Really good. The
Yeah.
Irish people are so friendly and warm, and it's just singing everywhere in Dublin. And honestly, people are so nice. It's really cool. It's a good
Do
thing.
you shoot weddings in Ireland?
No, I've never shot in Ireland actually. I've done a couple of workshops in Ireland, but never shot a wedding. No,
Mhm.
I did one in Dubai just a couple of weeks ago, and we left on the day of the huge storms. I don't know if you saw on the news
Mm-mm,
in
no.
Dubai. In Dubai they had a year and a half worth of rain in one day and so The
Oh,
road,
wow.
honestly, it was mental. It was the day we left as well. So the roads from our hotel to the airport were just totally flooded. Like there were cars bobbing along, it was scary. But we were lucky in that we got out. Loads of people couldn't leave that day, but we managed to get out. But
So how does
yeah.
one decide to do a workshop in Dubai?
I know a wedding. It was actually not a workshop,
Oh,
it
it
was a
was a
wedding.
wedding.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was a wedding. Yeah. Which I guess I don't think I'll ever get booked for there again because Dubai that's like it's not a real place, It's like all this in money everywhere and stuff, which
Yeah.
I think generally doesn't people who get married in a place like that generally don't want, I think, documentary. They want to look
Hmm.
really pretty. They want, that's a generalization, I think. But if you
Hmm.
look at Dubai weddings, they're generally kind of very portrait heavy. It's very much like showing people they're of a certain status, in a way as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
But I got that wedding because I photographed the bride's brother's wedding about 6 years ago, and she loved the documentary way I did
Oh,
it.
okay.
And that was 100% documentary, so no portraits at all, no couple time, no groups, and that's great. That's the holy grail for me. I love days like that,
Yeah.
just 100% documentary. Yeah.
Do you find yourself having to educate people, like your wedding clients, on what that is?
I don't know. I think because I think I put that down to the fact that I think I've always shown a very kind of strong documentary style on everywhere, all my kind of branding, my socials,
Hmm.
my website. I have a style page as well. I don't show just very posed stuff at all. If I do any kind of couple time stuff, it's very relaxed. And so people who come to me, they know that what
Hmm.
they want is to just enjoy getting married and just have
Hmm.
someone capturing it creatively.
Hmm.
So I don't educate them. No, the people who book me, I'm lucky in that way, I think.
Hmm.
Although it's not luck in a way, I think it's a lot down to what you're putting out there.
Yeah,
People
absolutely. Show
that
what you want to shoot.
yeah, I know it's a cliche, but it's true, isn't it? It is
Yeah.
true.
Do
It
you
is
do you ever feel pressure though, Alan? Like being in like when clients because okay, I often talk about this with people. Clients have their expectations of what wedding photography is.
really.
Sometimes we have to educate them about what documentary wedding photography is. And then sometimes because we all are steeped in this soup, that I find myself at least struggling against um, staying true to being fully documentary, or like really supporting my clients to understand that, hey, we're not going to leave to do portraits. Like that's like, we don't have to do that, and you don't have to do that. Like, do you have to do that education with your people, or do you ever find yourself being like, oh, maybe we should take some time out to
No,
go do that? Or
yeah,
how does that
no, I
work for you?
really don't. I really don't. I don't know if that's wrong of me or whatnot.
Mhm.
But I don't feel that kind of pressure. So like even if they want kind of couple time stuff, it's up to them if they, to really want that. I never feel pressure that like we're not going to be able to get that now. We need to go out now. I never feel like that because I think when they're coming to me, their priority is not that kind of stuff. Their
Yeah.
priority is about being left alone to really in a nice way,
Yeah.
just to enjoy getting married. And I do proactively say it on my Zooms though, is that I want you just to enjoy getting married and not to think about the photography at all. And I think
Hmm.
that gives them a license. They don't need that license from me, but it gives them a kind of
Hmm.
license to just know, great, yeah, we're not going to be interrupted. We're not going to be asked to repeat things. We're not going to be asked to have these fake grins on us. It's up
Hmm.
to us if we want to get some couple shots done, and we'll go up to Al and say, can we get some shots done like that now?
Yeah.
I never feel like as a photographer that I'm in control at all throughout the day. I know the
Hmm.
traditional photographer is supposed to be the person who kind of organizes the day as well, but
Yeah.
no, not for me at all. I don't even organize if they want a confetti tunnel, for example. I don't organize that. It's up to I'm there to photograph what is happening, not to
Yeah.
control
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know if
I
that's a
think
cop out. I don't think it's a cop out. I think it's
No, I think it's actually harder because you have to kind of educate everybody that you're not going to be setting up the fireworks line or whatever the
Mm,
sparkler line is. Like, if you
yeah.
want to do that, go ahead, but there's so much pressure. Like, you have to do this at your wedding. And there's also this idea that photographers run the show, that
Mm,
photographers, and we have it, planners think it, that
yeah.
we have to conform these things because the photographer needs to do it this way, which I think
Mm,
is such a injustice to the actual act of a wedding, you know?
Totally.
And
Yeah.
the question that was coming up in my head when you were talking, Alan, was like, well, isn't photography part of the day? So that shows you how like how deep that bias is still in my brain. Like,
Yeah.
do you do portraits, like family portraits?
Only if they ask, only if they want that. So I get in touch with my couples about a week beforehand. I only ask them a few questions. I don't send out a big questionnaire or anything because
Mhm.
for me, it's all about capturing everything as it's happening anyway. So I don't need lots of information. But one of the things I ask is that, yeah, if you do want some group photos, I do say a lot of my couples don't want any. So I'm kind of hinting to them not
Yeah,
to do.
we don't have to do
Kind
it.
of peer pressure there, but no, but I say, but it's totally up to you. And I say, if you do want some, it's no problem at all. I do it very quickly and relaxed. And I say, if they can keep it to us about 6 different groups maximum, because I say it's all time that I can't be capturing the natural moments, which is true, So I always work alone. I never have a second shooter as well. So it
Mhm.
is time if I'm doing groups that I won't be able to capture the natural things. But I have to say, about 80% of my weddings do have groups, so the other 20% don't have any at all. Yeah, about
Mhm.
that much. But I use
Mhm.
it as a selling point, how I do it very quickly and relaxed. So I'm not putting people in heart shapes or anything like that. It's just quickly relaxed. No, and they can get back to the party. Yeah. How about you? Do you do much like family stuff?
I say like no more than 8 to 10 combinations, like depending on how big their families are.
Yeah.
But six is a sweet
Yeah.
spot for sure. But I don't organize them. I'm like, if you want them, you have to organize them
Yes.
because
Totally.
all
Yeah.
the good stuff happens like while they're organizing them, right? Like the chaos
Yes.
of them trying to get
Yeah.
their shit together.
Yeah. That is true. And I wouldn't have a clue who these people are anyway, I think, to like get,
Totally.
yeah, cousin Sue or what. So, yes, I just choose where it's going to be if I'm doing the groups, that's it. And then I just let everyone else, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe an usher or a best man gather the people and yeah.
Yeah. So what has documentary wedding photography taught you about life?
Whoa, that's a deep question. That is
Alan, I'm deep.
what has what has documentary wedding photography taught me about life? I think it's like just reaffirmed a lot of things to me rather than I don't know if it's taught me new things. I just think, as I say, from such an early age, I've just been this romantic comedy, strange, loving, strange kind of guy who
Yeah.
loves kind of like people. And so it's just reaffirmed to me about life is about relationships and
Yeah.
about each other. And it's nothing to do with the materialistic side of life whatsoever. It isn't. And yeah, so as I say, I could be doing, I did a wedding, as I say, in Dubai a few weeks ago, and then I'll have a wedding at like a local village hall, just total opposite ends of the spectrum. And neither is better than the other. It's just all about the people. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a social experiment, hey? You're bringing all of these folks together. I often think of it like a wheel, like the couple is the wheel, the hub,
Oh, the
and
hub.
then
Yeah.
all of these spokes go out to all these different people. And I like to try and figure out like what that spoke is. And so I'm looking for images that the couple will be able to look at and be like, oh yeah, that's my Aunt Edna for sure. Like,
That's
or
cool.
um, but the thing that kind of grates on me a little bit, and tell me how you feel about this, is that wedding photography is really looked down on by other photographers. And maybe it's a little bit of jealousy because we are making like consistent livings doing this.
Oh, maybe.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I totally get that thing that it is looked down upon. And like one of the things I spoke about at the retreat last week was that I'm not so keen on. I think we're doing ourselves an injustice. So there are some people out there who say I'm not a wedding photographer. I'm a photographer who takes pictures at weddings, and I think
Yes.
that adds to the stigma of it though, because
Yeah.
you're kind of trying to distance yourself from being a wedding photographer, but we are there taking photos at weddings. We are wedding photographers, and then we should
Hmm.
be super proud of it. We know
Hmm.
how difficult it is. It's so hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to be, it's
So
hard,
sweaty by the end.
yeah, physically for sure, but also creatively. We have to be on it, 10, 11, 12 hours. We're creating art on the fly. You mentioned it was art earlier. I'm glad you agree with that. I think what
Yeah,
we're doing totally
absolutely.
is art,
Yeah.
and we're creating bits of art on the fly, like every second, we can be. So it's so difficult. We should be proud, I think, to say we're wedding photographers. And if people look down on it, like, I don't care. I really don't
Yeah.
care,
Yeah.
really don't care.
Well, I think that I would love to not care. but at the same time, I would love for people to see the gravity of what we're like, for society to see that like this is really
Right.
important, like this is a, a sacred thing that we do in our lives, in every, like, in every culture, to my knowledge, every culture in the world has some sort of wedding ceremony, right? Like there's
Yeah.
this is the stuff of real life. And um
But do
to
you not
your
think it,
point of what's that, sorry?
oh, sorry, I was going to say, but do you not think that real people do appreciate it though? Real people, they do see the importance of it. It's just photographers,
Yeah,
other
yeah,
photographers.
yeah, I think you're right. I'm looking at it from the wrong, from the, yeah, I totally, yeah, I agree. And I love what you're saying. I'm a photographer at a wedding. I mean, there's two ways to kind of try to do this. We can differentiate ourselves as photographers who happen to be photographing weddings, or we embrace it and be super proud of it. Like, yeah, I'm a wedding photographer. Like, I think, yeah, I wonder which perspective, which way to go with it.
Oh,
I like
well, for me, definitely, I'm just super proud to be a wedding photographer. And,
yeah,
say if I'm at a random night out and someone comes up to me and asks me what I'll do, and I'll say I'm a wedding photographer. And it doesn't bother me that maybe they've got in their head a very
yeah,
old traditional image of what wedding photography is. I don't feel like I need to say, oh, but it's super hard and super creative.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I'm proud of who I am. It doesn't matter if
yeah.
people don't understand what we do,
I
we know
love
how
that.
important it is, how good. Yeah,
Yeah, and well, I think the other piece of that is that um people might not have a good experience of weddings,
that's
like
true.
of their own wedding or whatever. So sometimes there's like an emotional charge that comes in with hearing the word wedding.
Yeah.
you know?
That's true. It means a lot of things to a lot of people, doesn't it?
Yeah.
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 Mm.
Well, Alan, it's been a pleasure talking with you.
I really enjoy it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Lovely
thank you
talking
for
to you.
being so open and sharing your perspective. It's truly like it's a wonderful reminder that to like embrace what you're doing and let people be that, like, do what they're doing. I almost said be themselves, but it really does come down to like us being inspired by what we are drawn to, and
Yes.
just letting people do their thing without us having to impress our own neuroses on it.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. 100%. Now, people, the more that you are yourself, the more true to yourself, the truer your images are, like I know it was you just ending it then, but again, I don't generally agree when photographers get a lot of other people to curate their work. Like if they're submitting to a contest, I can understand that it can help, but it can also kind of dilute your work when you get lots of other people's
Mm,
opinions rather than just
yes.
going for the ones that really call to you.
Yeah.
Mm.
Do you help your students to understand that?
I talk about it on my workshops for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is something that is so lost, that because students often are like, well, I want you to tell me what to do, more or less. Like that's the inherent message, is like, tell me if this is right or wrong, or is this
Mm.
good or bad? There's so much black and white in all of it. Like you either win or you don't win that award, right? Like we distill it down to one thing or the other. But it's so
Yeah.
refreshing to hear that there are mentors out there who are empowering people to like, you like what you like, and that's what's going to draw your people to you, right?
So
If you're
that's
true to what you like.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. It's funny how you mentioned awards then as well, but like I probably shouldn't say it as running in awards, but I totally understand that they're not for everyone as well. But you
Yeah.
have to understand at the end of the day that it's just a few people's opinions as well. It's just a few people's opinions.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Obviously, they're good photographers, but it's just a few people's opinions.
Hmm.
So yeah, I know for some people it really stresses them out, and if it
Hmm.
does, I would say don't enter. Even though I think there's a lot of good things that can come from awards, but if it's harming your mental health, then
Yeah.
just don't do
Don't do
them.
it. You
Yeah,
don't do it.
exactly. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
How does that square up for you? Like, what is being someone who runs a community that provides awards or like recognition? How does that fit for you? Like, what's the point of that? Where does that fit
What
in your?
what's the point of awards in general? Or
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, I think they're good for people have different reasons for entering awards, totally,
yeah.
For some, it helps them curate their work and look at angles of their work and see maybe elements that maybe they would like to do differently or whatnot. For some, it's a challenge, which I get as well. For some, it
Mhm.
can just give them that extra bit of impetus. I don't think anybody goes out there to shoot for awards specifically, but it's like an extra kind of like silver lining. It can be good for marketing, it can be when people come to us, like a potential client, they're paying for something that doesn't exist yet. Their photos don't exist yet. So if you can get some kind of recognition like that, adds a bit of trust to you, it's all good.
Mhm.
But I also see the other way, and I know a lot of people are very vehemently against awards as well, which I
Mhm.
understand that side of it as well. It
Mhm.
feels bad for me each time when I'm releasing the winners every 2 months. I feel bad for all the people that have not got the nod that time. It's a horrible thing, honestly. It's a horrible thing because I'm disappointing most people rather than making most people happy, because most people don't win, So
Yeah.
it's a horrible thing to be on this side of it as well.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to take it with a pinch, even though I think obviously Reportage is very trusted and things. You have to take it
Yeah.
with a pinch of salt that it's just a few people's opinions at the end of the
Mhm.
day. And yeah, don't take
Yeah.
things. I do think it's very important as well not to take things too seriously in general in life, And so if you're someone who awards each time it comes around, it does hurt you. And I'd
Mhm.
say you don't need to do it. You don't.
Mhm. Yeah. I totally agree. I grapple with it all the time. Like,
Yeah, I
should I
understand.
bother? Should I do this? Like, what's my intention? And I think that's something that people don't necessarily ask, is they just like assume that you have to do this, or like you assume that you need to have an award like for your work to be valuable.
Mm,
And that's not like, if your intention is to like hone in on a portfolio image that you want to share and see, hey, what do other people think of it, and leave it at that. Like if you're just curious about what other people think of it and like see how it stands up with these other ones,
mm,
from a point of curiosity, I think curiosity is always kind of neutral. Like I'm just curious. Like, whereas like if I don't get it, then I failed. That's an entirely different kind of
yes.
toxic way of looking at it, right?
Totally. Yeah. But it's human nature as well. I understand it. And it is
Yeah.
human nature. But as you say, you don't need an award for you to value your work. Like one of
Yeah.
my favorite romantic comedies is Can't Buy Me Love. It's like an 80s film that has won
Yes.
zero awards, and it's still one of the best films of all time, It doesn't
I
matter.
totally agree. That's a really good thing to bring up, Alan. Like they're so, yeah, yeah. Awards, they
Awards. Human
awards.
comedies.
I do think they're fun though. Like they're fun to see the images that come up, because I think those are the I think the purpose of those type, like those cycles of images that come out, is that they're interesting to see
Mm,
how people are approaching other situations. And I don't want to use the word trend, but they can shape a consciousness around um um telling stories, and like how to
mm.
like be present, and like where people pushing boundaries. Yeah, I think they're super valuable and interesting from that perspective for sure.
I agree, definitely there. And I love looking. I do love looking at what a judges pick, and always every round though. As I say, I don't look at every image, but I look at a
Yeah.
lot, and it always amazes me each time because we all have such different opinions.
Yeah.
Some things get awarded that are maybe not my cup of tea, and that's
Yeah.
great as well. And then other
Yeah.
things that I've seen were submitted, I'm like, well, that's bound to win, and then it doesn't.
Doesn't
It's
win. I know. I've been a judge on many different platforms, and I'm like, why did that win? And two, why
yeah,
didn't this, Yeah, it's
yeah,
wild.
it is
Just
wild.
people's opinions.
Exactly, and that's it. And I know every award body says it, but I totally agree that do resubmit the same things. So if you are into awards, do
Absolutely.
resubmit them. I see the same things get submitted. It might be the ninth or 10th time, and
Yeah.
suddenly those few jurors, it's clicked with those and it's been awarded.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
I have like a set. I'm like, these are going to win. And eventually,
Yeah, and they do.
eventually they do. But
That's
it's
good.
also, interestingly, it's also a familiarity, right?
In what way?
Because I think there are certain photographers in these different communities. Certain photographers kind of set the tone for that organization.
Right, okay.
Like there's a photographer who wins like two, three, four, five per round for a certain period of time, and then you'll see the flux after of people who are kind of trying to emulate that. And so you see
Yeah.
kind of really comparable images. And it's even, you can see it's even in the judges' heads because that image won in the last round. This one is very similar or like related to, then that one gets awarded because we love familiarity, right? So like you may
100%.
not like that song the first time you hear it, but if that song is played enough, then suddenly everybody likes it. And so I see that happening in awards, like where certain photographers who have a very specific style, they will win a bunch. And then we see a whole bunch of other photographers doing that same thing. And then those ones end up getting awarded as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. That is
Yeah.
interesting.
Maybe not, it's not as obvious in Reportage, but there are other organizations that you can definitely see
Right.
that cycle
Okay.
happen.
That kind
Yeah.
of cycle.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so subliminal, right? Like it's what we're
Yes,
familiar to. What we're
that's true,
familiar.
isn't it? There's so many, it's interesting. There's so many factors involved, isn't it? And when
Yeah.
someone is just looking through those images.
Yeah.
So one thing that I say, I'm not trying to plug Reportage, but I mean, I just love how the story awards are like,
They're
I
so
think
good.
it is good because you can get lucky with the occasional good shot. You can, we can. Obviously, the ones who consistently wins a lot, they're not getting lucky. But you can't get lucky with a story award. 15 to 20 images from the same wedding. You can't get lucky with that. So I love the
Yeah.
way that is really celebrating great documentary coverage, great
Yeah. It's really
storytelling.
good.
Yeah, I love that.
Thank you for doing it, Alan. Thank you for
Oh no,
leading the
thank you for
charge,
no,
making
thank you
it
for being
happen.
part of it. Oh, yeah, no, thank you. And thank you for talking to me today. It's been a real honor and you're so easy to talk to. Loved it.
Thank you. Well, I
Oh, that's
appreciate you
great.
being here.
Thank you for having me. Cool.
Okay. Take care.
Bye bye.